You all probably watched the famous BBC documentary about the Burning Sun case. That was an interesting documentary, but there was not much new things to say. If anyone out there followed the news, they would know most of the information in that documentary. Now, let's talk about more untold truths which the BBC failed to notice. In their Burning Sun documentary, the BBC presents reporter Kang as the Burning Sun whistleblower, but fails to name one of the most significant figures in the wider story, a man named Sang-Kyo. They refer to him merely as a customer assaulted at the club by staff when in fact he is the one that lit the spark of what would be known by Korean media as Burning Sun Gate, involving allegations of drug trafficking and sexual assaults in nightclubs, and collusion with the police to cover up these crimes. The BBC assert that Sang-Kyo was assaulted at Burning Sun in January 2019 and used footage from that alleged incident. However, it is well documented that the footage is actually from November 2018. Kim visited Burning Sun on November 24 and was asked to leave the club by staff following accusations that he was harassing women in the club. A fight broke out between Sang-Kyo, Burning Sun Club director Jang, and Mr. Choi, a friend of the woman assaulted by Kim, and police were called. On December 21, Sang-Kyo secured an interview with Iliosisa and launched a Blue House petition calling for an investigation into his treatment by Burning Sun staff and the police, who he alleged were colluding with Burning Sun. His petition attracted just over 6,000 signatures. Kim alleged that he had witnessed a Burning Sun director sexually harassing someone, that he had tried to stop him but was assaulted by club bodyguards, then handcuffed by police. Kim additionally alleged that he was taunted and assaulted by police and that there was collusion between the police and the nightclub. On January 28, 2019, MBC's news desk aired a report about an assault at a nightclub owned by Big Bang's Seungri along with clips of CCTV footage, later used by the BBC. It revealed that Sang-Kyo had posted in an online community about the incident, alleging that he was the victim of an assault at Burning Sun but then attacked by the security guards at the club and arrested as the assailant. He claimed that he was put in handcuffs and taken to the police station, where he was further assaulted by the police. To support his claims, he put up a photo of his bleeding face and another photo of him receiving medical treatment at the hospital. On December 27, 2018, a video from the club's CCTV was uploaded to YouTube which featured a woman stumbling as she's dragged through a hallway at the club. The BBC documentary also mentioned this video. Sang-Kyo described, "Less than 10 days after my incident occurred on November 24th, a woman who was intoxicated by something was dragged by her hair by a Burning Sun guard down a VIP hall. The woman grabbed on to the computer and desk and seemed to be in need of help, but the staff ignored that. I received information that the woman reported this to the police, but the police let it pass and Burning Sun deleted the CCTV footage." Kim went on to state that he had heard that similar incidents occur twice a day, and that the police receive a large amount of money from Burning Sun, with the police and Burning Sun having an agreement where they do not enter the club under the pretext of it being a disturbance of business. He also posted on his Instagram account that he had received reports of the sale and use of date-rape drugs at nightclubs, and launched a second Blue House petition which attracted over 300,000 signatures, prompting a response from the then-president, Moon Jae-in, who ordered a thorough investigation into the Gangnam nightclubs and allegations of collusion with the police. On January 29, Burning Sun issued a statement on Instagram regarding the video that had been uploaded on YouTube, and also released 2 clips allegedly from the same night. On December 1, 2018, an incident occurred involving an intoxicated Taiwanese woman who was secretly unsealing and drinking alcohol from a table at Burning Sun. When a female guard approached her to address the situation, the woman became aggressive and assaulted the guard. She also slapped a staff member who tried to communicate with her in English. In response, the police were called to the scene. After reviewing CCTV footage of the incident, the woman was arrested. Subsequently, she was held responsible for the damage caused, including the cost to repair the laptop, and the case was subsequently closed. Burning Sun also shared a post made by the female security guard on Facebook, which included her description of the events that corroborates the club's official statement. She denied the idea that the woman was being taken away to be sexually assaulted, as has been speculated, and included an apology letter written in English from the Thai woman. On the same day, January 29, 2019, Burning Sun CEOs Lee Moon-ho and Lee Sung-hyun, along with director Jang, who was accused of assaulting Kim Sang-Kyo, addressed the MBC News desk story, which was mentioned earlier. They explained that the incident occurred while a staff member was responding to a civil complaint from a female guest who reported being the victim of sexual harassment by Kim Sang-Kyo. However, regardless of the reason, they acknowledged that the violence that occurred was unjustifiable and apologized for it. They also released CCTV footage from the Burning Sun Club on the night Kim Sang-Kyo was present, which clearly shows Kim approaching a woman and touching her. Additionally, it is evident that Kim engaged in several questionable behaviors, such as throwing an ashtray, scattering trash, and misbehaving with the club's security. According to the CCTV footage, he even initiated a confrontation with the police, grabbing an officer by the neck and dragging him to the ground. In December 2018, there were reports that Kim Sang-Kyo had harassed women at the Burning Sun Club, supported by CCTV footage. A woman who had been molested at the club filed a criminal complaint on December 21, 2018, using this footage as evidence. In an interview with YTN Star on February 2, 2019, she stated that Kim had reported false information through the media and was lying about the collusion between the police and the club and the assault on the police. She confirmed that he had molested her on the night of November 23 and early morning of November 24. She mentioned that she had been questioned by the police multiple times, clarified that she had no ties to Burning Sun, and had simply gone there to enjoy music and dance with friends. A Blue House petition was launched on March 1, 2019 asking for an investigation against Kim Sang-Kyo, which attracted over 40,000 signatures. On May 15, 2019, the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency announced its plans to send Kim Sang-Kyo to the state prosecutors with a recommendation for indictment on charges including the violation of the Act on Special Cases Concerning the Punishment, etc. of sexual crimes and obstruction of business. Police also forwarded former Burning Sun Club director Jang to the prosecution with recommendation of indictment on charges of violating the punishment of violences, etc. Act for the joint assault of Kim Sang-Kyo. Choi, the individual who first got into a fight with Kim Sang-Kyo, was also forwarded to the prosecution with a recommendation for indictment on the charge of assault. Concerning the allegations of collusion between Burning Sun and the Yeoksum Patrol Division of the Seoul Gangnam Police Station, the police have determined that no such collusion took place. Their investigation involved a thorough analysis of 72 individual cell phones and 18 shared devices belonging to 71 officers from the Yeoksum Patrol Division, including 4 who were on site during the incident. Additionally, they reviewed call histories from 706 Burning Sun staff members and examined bank account records for 36 key personnel, both from Burning Sun and the police. The findings indicate a lack of evidence supporting any collusion. On November 8, 2022, Kim Sang-Kyo found guilty of molestation and obstructing business operations. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison, suspended for 2 years, along with 40 hours of sexual violence prevention courses and 80 hours of community service. The court ruled in favor of the victim, noting that her testimony was corroborated by CCTV evidence. Additionally, the court emphasized the severity of the crime and its profound emotional impact on the victim as key factors in their decision. The judge dismissed Kim's claim that he had attempted to protect a woman from being molested as unfounded and misleading. In January 2024, the Seoul Central District Court's Criminal Appellate Department upheld the original verdict against Kim Sang-Kyo, confirming that the charges of forcible molestation were substantiated by video evidence. The court dismissed Kim's claims that the allegations were fabricated by the club, stating that his actions, including throwing a trash can, obstructed the club's operations and could not be justified. In June 2024, the Supreme Court finalized Kim's 1-year prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. It reiterated that Kim had defamed Burning Sun and rejected his assertion that he was acting to protect women from harassment, labeling him as a whistleblower motivated by personal grievances. The court emphasized that the victim's detailed account of the molestation was credible and supported by CCTV footage. The Supreme Court also upheld the trial court's ruling regarding Kim's online statement, in which he claimed he was attacked while attempting to prevent a woman from being sexually harassed, determining that it contained false information and lacked justification for public interest. The court also sentenced former Burning Sun director Jang to 8 months in prison suspended for 2 years and fined Mr. Choi 2 million won for the incident outside Burning Sun. The timeline presented by the BBC does not align with the actual events as reported by Korean media, English-language entertainment news sites, and social media. Notably, the BBC has overlooked critical information regarding the predatory behavior of Kim Sang-Kyo, which is essential for a comprehensive understanding of the situation. Fortunately, we now know that Kim is not the hero everyone thought he was. In the end, there were no complainants or accusations against Burning Sun, except for those made by Kim Sang-Kyo. Extensive investigations were conducted into the club, and finally, on July 10, 2019, Police Chief Min Gabriong held a press conference to discuss the completion of the investigations and the results obtained. He stated that after thorough investigations, they could not confirm any of the allegations against Burning Sun. He also addressed the videos of club's restroom, found on foreign porn websites, mentioning that 42 suspects related to filming were arrested, but no evidence of sexual harassment or drug use was found.
특히 이번 국민청원에서 청원인이 인용한 소위 VIP룸 불법 행위 보도 내용에 대해 집중 수사를 하였습니다. 영상 속 VIP룸 손님과 클럽 직원을 특정하여 수사한 바 클럽 화장실 내 성행위를 불법 촬영하여 해외 사이트에 유포한 피의자 42명을 검거하였습니다. 수사 과정에서 보도된 내용과 같은 성폭행이나 마약 투약 사실은 확인되지 않았습니다.
The BBC documentary also referenced a video found on foreign porn websites showing 2 customers engaging in sexual activity in the restrooms of the Burning Sun Club. As the police chief mentioned in the press conference, investigations were conducted into this matter, leading to the arrest of several suspects. Ultimately, a former MD of the club faced trial and was sentenced to 2.5 years of prison with a suspended sentence of 4 years probation. The MD was found guilty of illegally recording the male and female customers with his mobile phone and sharing the footage with acquaintances via Kakao Talk. Despite extensive investigations into the Burning Sun Club following Kim Sang-Kyo's allegations, it is noteworthy that no one, except for Kim Sang-Kyo himself, ever filed a complaint against the club. Although news agencies attempted to substantiate Burning Sun's crimes through various documents and interviews, in 2019, during a period when multiple accusations were being made daily against the club and its associates, no one came forward as a victim or complainant. Ultimately, the police were unable to confirm these allegations at the conclusion of their investigation. This is a summary of all the charges against Burning Sun and the sentences received by individuals. It is important to note that while these charges are related to Burning Sun, none were related to Kim Sang-Kyo's claims or the public's expectations, and not all of them occurred within the club or involved all individuals associated with Burning Sun. Some individuals from the club were involved in criminal activities, leading to the media attributing these violations to the entire club as if everyone within the club was aware of them. For more details on this case, you can check out the Burning Sun video on our channel. As mentioned, contrary to what was portrayed in the BBC documentary, reporter Kang was never the one who exposed the so-called Burning Sun scandal. This raises the question, what exactly did reporter Kang report? It might seem intriguing, but her report did little more than confuse the public. The BBC documentary is narrated in the same style that reporter Kang used in 2019. It depicted a club where girls were drugged, raped, filmed, and the videos were shared in a group that included Jung Joon-Young, Choi Jung-hoon, Seungri, and others. but this narrative is completely incorrect. The Burning Sun Club opened in 2018, while the content of the Molka chat dates to 2015 and 2016. Even Kim Sang-Kyo, the whistleblower in the so-called Burning Sun scandal, stated in an interview with MBC on July 3, 2024, that the Burning Sun incident is fundamentally distinct from the Molka chat case. However, the media and public have since shifted their focus to the celebrity group chat controversy. In December 2018, the Burning Sun scandal was initiated by Kim Sang-Kyo, causing a huge uproar and leading to extensive police investigations. 2 months after this incident, on February 26, reporter Kang claimed in an article that Seungri, along with singer COU of Yuri Holdings, and employee Kim, arranged prostitution services for foreign investors between December 2015 and January 2016. This led to Seungri's first interrogation on February 27 on suspicion of facilitating prostitution, which was conducted voluntarily, and prior to this, he had never been questioned about Burning Sun. Reporter Kang kept the identity of singer C hidden, who was naturally a member of this group and should have been exposed. Meanwhile, doubts about the authenticity of the chats arose, as one of singer C's messages was missing in the chats published by reporter Kang in the Never article, while the same message was in the Insti's article. In response to these criticisms, reporter Kang stated that she only removed messages containing inappropriate content. Reporter Kang, during the BBC documentary, talked about the release of news regarding prostitution mediation, saying they didn't know where to start among all the information they had. There were very serious issues, such as sexual harassment, Molka, collusion with the police, etc., and there were individuals with terrible crimes. However, they decided to start the news with prostitution mediation, drawing attention through Seungri's name while keeping the other individuals hidden. It makes little sense to start with the least severe alleged offenses, unless mentioning the most famous celebrity was prioritized. As time passed, on the morning of March 11, 2019, reporter Kang published a new article. She claimed that Seungri, along with 2 unidentified celebrities, shared Molka photos and videos in a 3-person group chat. Additionally, in another 8-person group chat also associated with Seungri, a non-celebrity named Kim shared a 20-second Molka video, to which Seungri allegedly responded. These were the details Kang revealed, still withholding the names of other individuals involved. Later that evening, during SBS's 8 p.m. news, it was disclosed that one of the members of the Molka group was Jung Joon-Young. It was also mentioned that 2 other celebrities, referred to as Choi and Lee, were involved, though their full names were not disclosed. The following day, on March 12, 2019, reporter Kang retracted her earlier statement, confirming that the 3-person group involving Seungri and the 2 other celebrities was fabricated. Kang clarified that Seungri was not part of that conversation and that the sharing of Molka content occurred in a private conversation between Jung Joon-Young and Yoon Jun-hyun. This revelation marked the beginning of widespread doubts and suspicions regarding all the chats released in the media. On the same day, Dispatch released a report on these chats, explaining that the published chats included 2 groups. The first was an 8-member business group related to the Pucha restaurant, and the second was the Molka chat group, which included Jung Joon-Young friends, but Seungri was not a member. After many twists and turns, the names of 2 other celebrities involved in this Molka group were revealed, Choi Jung-hoon and Lee Jung-hyun. On March 28, 2019, the police announced that Jung Joon-Young had 23 different group chats and shared Molka content not only in the infamous Molka chat group but also in other groups and personal chats. Gradually, all the persons present in the Molka chat were identified. 6 people, including 3 celebrities and 3 non-celebrities, Jung Joon-Young, Choi Jung-hoon, Lee Jung-hyun, Kim In-chul, Kwon Hyuk-jun, and Woo Hee-yeon. In December 2019, KBS News, in an exclusive report from Jung Joon-Young's court documents, published a list of Molkas shared by him. This list specified the date, location, and content of the photos and videos. From December 2015 to June of the following year, Jung shared his Molka content at 5 different groups and 3 private chats, distributed them to 14 people. The same person may have been harmed more than twice, but there are at least 10 victims. According to this report, and as confirmed by previous reports, Seungri was only present in one of these mentioned groups, which was related to the Pucha restaurant business, as Yuri Holdings, co-founded by Seungri, had invested in Jung Joon-Young's Pucha restaurant. Regarding the 20-second video that Mr. Kim sent in that business group and Seungri's alleged response to it, which was shown in the BBC documentary as well, according to SBS Fun-E, Mr. Kim In-chul sent this video on January 9, 2016. However, Kim In-chul stated in court on November 20, 2019, that he had left the group in December 2015 and never rejoined. However, Kim In-chul court documents were never released and there is no detailed information of these messages. Regardless of whether the published chats are credible, let's look at the source of the original chats. These events are less discussed and might seem complex but lead to interesting conclusions. On March 12, 2019, it was revealed that an anonymous whistleblower sent these chats to a lawyer named Bang. Since the chats mentioned collusion with a high-ranking police officer, Lawyer Bang did not give them to the police but instead submitted them to the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission on February 22. Lawyer Bang talked about this in an interview with CBS Radio's Kim Hyun-jong's news show on March 13, 2019. He explained that the whistleblower sent the chats, which were from 2015 and 2016, and mentioned that Seungri was in a business-related group and that reporter Kang never personally had the chats.
변호사님이 1차로 카톡을 입수한 분은 아니신 거고 그 입수한 1차 제보자, 이 공익 제보자를 대리해서 권익위에 신고를 하신 분인 거죠?
네, 비실명 신고 대리 신고라고 해서요. 그 공익 신고자 보호법에 보면 그 제보자가 이제 자기 이제 그 인적 사항을 이제 숨기고 그러니까 비실명으로 이제 변호사가 대리해서 신고할 수 있는 제도가 있어서
있죠.
그러니까 이메일을 받아요, 제가.
이메일을
받는데 그 제보자의 이메일이죠. 그러니까 뭐 영문 이름으로 돼 있는 어떤 제보자가 이제 메일을 보냈어요, 저한테. 그러니까 제가 알기로는 제가 이제 파악한 바로는 제보자가 저한테도 이제 그 메일을 보냈지만 그 내용의 제보 내용에 관해서 이제 그 처음에 기사를 쓰셨던 그 SBS 강경 기자님한테도 같은 내용의 메일을 보냈어요. 그러니까 제보 내용을. 근데 자료를 저한테 이제 제가 선택이 돼 저한테 보내줬고, 그래서 이제 그 여기 와서 팩트를 체크하시라는 또 메일을 받고 저를 찾아오셨고, 그래서 저는 이제 그거에 대해서 이제 고민하다가 이제 공익신고를 하게 되었고, 그거를 기자님 확인하시고 기사를 그 이후에 쓰신 거예요.
그러니까 지금 방 변호사 하나, 강경윤 기자 하나 이렇게 간 거예요. 카톡 내용이.
카톡 내용 간 건 아니고. 자료는 저한테만 오고.
자료는 방 변호사한테
저한테만 오고 제보 내용은 그리고 제가 공익신고를 한 이후에 이제 기자님이 기사를 쓰셨죠.
일단 분량이 어느 정도 됩니까? 그 제보자가 보내온 카톡 분량?
수만 건이죠. 8개월 정도의 기간 동안
8개월.
이제 있는 내용 자료고요.
2015년 8개월. 2015년
15년에서
16년 사이 8개월. 8개월에 수만 건 대화 내용.
수만 건의 대화 내용이 있었어요.
그럼 지금 공개되는 정준영 관련된 카톡, 그 성범죄 카톡하고 승리가 지인들한테 성매매 알선하는 그 카톡하고 그 카톡이 같은 대화방, 같은 단톡방에서 나온 거.
이제 그 올렸던 거는 그 방에 올린 것도 있고요.
그 단톡방, 승리 있는 단톡방도 있고 8명 단톡방
포함되어 있는 단톡방에 올라온 것도 있고, 다른 이제 개인한테 보낸 것도 있고, 아니면 다른 또 단톡방에 올린 것도 있고, 약간
방 여러 개군요.
여러 개 있었어요.
그럼 결국은 정준영 카톡이군요, 지금 이게.
그거 다 알려진 거니까.
아니, 저는 혹시 관련자 8명 누군가 중에 카톡일 수도 있겠다. 왜냐하면 하나에서 다 나온 거면 그랬는데 그게 아니라 지금 여러 개의 정준영 씨가 자기 카톡에 열어놓은 여러 개의 방에서 지금 조금씩 나오는 거예요.
자료를 이제 보고 그 제보자의 제보 내용도 이제 다 검토를 했는데, 제보자가 왜 이거를 뭐 이렇게까지 이제 공개하기가 꺼려지고 또 이렇게까지 막 익명의 뭐 이메일까지 보내면서 했던 이유가 뭐였는지 알겠더라고요. 그 안에 단순하게 그냥 이거 이렇게 예를 들어서 연예인의 비위 정도에서 그치면 상관이 없을 텐데 그 안에 내용들을 봤을 때는 경찰과의 유착 관계가 굉장히 의심되는 정황들이 많이 담겨 있었어요. 그러니까 제보자 입장에서는 굉장히 무서웠을 것 같아요. 이거를 선뜻 수사기관 낼 수가 없잖아요, 사실.
일단 한 명입니까? 연락을 주고받는 그 경찰은?
그러니까 그러니까 거기서 가장 영향력 있는 사람 한 명이고.
여럿이에요. 경찰 여럿이 등장해요?
등장은 여럿이 하는데.
하는데.
그러니까 뭐 다 이게 유착이 돼 있다기보다는
예.
그러니까 가장 큰 그러니까 우두머리하고 유착이 돼 있으니까 이렇게 내려오는 형태가 아닌가. 그러니까 이렇게 들어가서 이렇게 내려오는 이게 밑으로.
그러면 예를 들어서 이 관할이 지금 강남이죠. 강남 경찰서장 정도예요. 그걸 넘어서요. 그것만 알려주세요.
서장 수준은 아니죠. 더 위라고.
더 위요?
네.
아니 그럼 강남 경찰서장보다 위면 서울청장 아니면 경찰청장 둘밖에 없는데요.
전 잘 모르겠습니다. 그거에 대해서.
On the same day, March 13th, the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission announced that after 15 days of reviewing the chats provided by lawyer Bang, they sent them to the prosecution. This kept the chats from going to the police and ensured a public interest report was filed. In South Korea, there are 471 laws that can be reported to the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission if violated. A person can submit a report personally or through a lawyer appointed by the commission. The main whistleblower reported the chats to the commission through lawyer Bang and requested a public interest report. When a report is declared in the public interest, the evidence can be used by the police, prosecution, and even in court without questioning the source, as the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission protects the identity of the whistleblower and the source to prevent legal action against the individual for the report. Lawyer Bang submitted this report under the Information and Communication Network Act because Sexual Violence Punishment Act, which was the main content of the groups, is not on the Commission's list of related laws. Since the content of the chats did not fully align with the law under which Bang submitted them, the issue of collusion with a high-ranking police officer was heavily emphasized and publicized to obtain a public interest report. This is how the identity of the main whistleblower initially remained hidden. To provide more clarity, let's go back to 2016. That year, Jung Joon-Young was accused of secretly filming his ex-girlfriend. Following this accusation, the police asked Jung Joon-Young to hand over his phone for investigation. However, he claimed that his phone was broken and had been sent to a digital forensics company for data recovery. After some time, for reasons unknown at the time, his ex-girlfriend withdrew the case. In 2021, Jung Joon-Young's ex-girlfriend explained in an interview that she had dropped the case because a police officer had told her there wasn't enough evidence and that Jung might take legal action against her. However, the BBC documentary suggested that the withdrawal of the case was due to a lawyer from KBS. The documentary claimed that to protect the show 2 days and 1 night, in which Jung was a regular member, Jung's ex-girlfriend threatened to drop the case. After the BBC documentary was released, KBS denied these accusations and threatened legal action. As a result, the BBC removed this part of the documentary and apologized to KBS for spreading false information, which further questions the credibility of the documentary. In 2019, the police announced that during their search for the original source of the chats, they discovered a company that had recovered data from Jung Joon-Young's phone in 2016. However, the identity of the whistleblower remained unknown until February 2023, when Kim Sang-Kyo, the main whistleblower of the Burning Sun scandal, revealed the identity of the Molka chat whistleblower in a post. Kim Sang-Kyo had been trying to get the Burning Sun scandal recognized as a public interest report to avoid punishment for sexual harassment he committed at the club, but his request was denied. Following this, he disclosed that the Molka chat whistleblower was Lee Yoo-min, the CEO of the digital forensics company. Kim explained that he even contacted reporter Kang to confirm this, but Kang hung up on him. After this revelation, Lee Yoo-min filed a complaint against Kim Sang-Kyo through the commission for exposing his personal information. One of the reasons lawyer Bang tried to get a public interest report from the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission in 2019, citing collusion with a high-ranking police officer, was that the data from these chats had been obtained illegally, and Lee Yoo-min, as the CEO of a digital forensics company, had violated personal information protection laws. In the BBC documentary, it was mentioned that SBS decided to start by releasing a story about Seungri, stating that they obtained evidence from an unnamed celebrity's phone. This decision is utterly baffling, given they were fully aware that the mobile phone belonged to Jung Joon-Young. They knew the information was held by a digital forensics company, and were aware that the phone contained evidence of illicit filming and distribution. Despite this, they chose to obscure the full truth initially, leveraging Seungri's name and the narrative of collusion with the police to draw attention, while securing public interest reporting to protect the whistleblower. Let's delve deeper into the collusion with the police. From March 12, 2019, in Lawyer Bang's interview with SBS, and subsequently on March 13 in a radio interview and various articles by reporter Kang, there were always references to collusion between chat group members and a high-ranking police officer. On March 15, 2019, during the 8 p.m. news on SBS, it was reported that Yoon Suk, the head of Yuri Holdings and a member of the 8-person business group, admitted during a police interrogation on March 14 that he had connections with a police officer. On March 15, the police explained that Yoon Suk did not have much knowledge of the police ranking system and therefore referred to him as the police chief. Because in reality, there is no position or rank known as police chief within the police force. On March 16, 2019, the police announced that Senior Superintendent Yoon Kyu-gun had admitted to knowing Yoon Suk and was subsequently arrested. On March 18, 2019, during the 8 p.m. news on SBS, it was revealed that Choi Jung-hoon had a phone call with a SBS news agency member on March 2, 2019, and discussed the identity of police officer Yoon with them.
혹시 경찰 유착 계속 생각하고 있는 거 아시죠?
그 경찰 쪽에 윗선들이요?
네.
맞아요. 뭐 아는 것 같긴 해요.
He said that Yoon Suk had told him that Officer Yoon worked at the Blue House and was a former police officer, and that Yoon Suk, Officer Yoon, and Officer Yoon's wife had played golf together, and he had even sent a photo of Officer Yoon to the news agency, the same photo seen in the BBC documentary. He also mentioned that he had sent concert tickets to Officer Yoon's wife. The officer, who was referred to as the police chief at the beginning of 2019, was later clarified by the police to be a senior superintendent. However, in the English subtitles of the BBC documentary, he is incorrectly labeled as Police Prosecutor General. Meanwhile, the subtitles in the Korean version of the documentary, and the statements made by reporter Kang, clearly refer to him as Police Chief.
경찰총장이라는 그 인물이 허구의 인물이 아니라
We cannot interpret this issue as an unintentional mistake. According to the police's own investigation, Senior Superintendent Yoon received a total of 2.7 million won worth of hospitality, including golf, meals, and concert tickets, from Yoon Suk, a business partner of Seungri. Since this amount of money is not enough to be considered a bribe or collusion, the police closed the investigation. Senior Superintendent Yoon convicted on charges of stock trading of undisclosed information and destruction of evidence, and fined 20 million won. In an interview in March 2019, Seungri addressed his relationship with Senior Superintendent Yoon, stating that he was introduced to him by his business partner Yoon Suk and was unaware that Yoon was a police officer because at that time, Yoon Suk just said that he works at Blue House. They met only 4 times and mostly discussed historical things, not business. After reviewing all this information, an important question arises. Did reporter Kang ever truly care about the victims? While there were serious accusations like rape and Molka, and individuals who had committed severe sexual crimes, Kang hid their names and only highlighted Seungri's name. Seungri, who did not face any charges related to rape or Molka, or even have a victim to file a complaint against him, was mentioned in Kang's first article in connection with prostitution mediation. Although soliciting prostitution has been a crime in Korea since 2004, it is generally not related to violent sexual crimes. 2 weeks later, while the names of the other individuals were still hidden, Kang published another article, this time about Molka chat but again with Seungri's name. The day after, she confirmed that the chats she had published were edited. It was later revealed that not only was the 3-person chat group fake, but the 8-person group she mentioned also had no connection to the main Molka chat. In fact, she never shared any content from the actual Molka chat. Even after that, she did not focus enough on the perpetrators and victims of sexual crimes and instead emphasized the issue of collusion with the police to obtain a public interest report. However, Even in this matter, she was not honest. While she knew the identity of Officer Yoon since at least March 2nd, after talking with Choi Jung-hoon and even before the publication of the Molka chat article, she kept his name hidden and confused the public by referring to him as the then police chief, saying it was unclear whether he is the national police chief or the Seoul police chief. Only the police themselves, through their investigations and interrogations of Yoon Suk, discovered Officer Yoon's identity and arrested him. It was not Kang who revealed Officer Yoon's identity, but the police. As mentioned before, Police Yoon was later acquitted of the charges. In an interview with SBS Kim Tae-hyun's political show, following the release of the BBC documentary, when asked why she mentioned Goo Hara now and didn't say anything before, reporter Kang explained that she couldn't talk about Goo Hara after her passing, but seeing their chats prompted her to mention her. However, Kang did talk about Goo Hara on November 25, 2019, the very next day after Goo Hara's passing. At that time, there was no mention of Goo Hara helping or talking to Choi Jung-hoon. It had long been said that Choi had spoken with a member of the SBS News. But the story doesn't end here and involves even more serious issues. Namely what has become known as the reporters' chat room. In 2023, it was reported that the Kakao Talk whistleblower, the CEO of digital forensics company, was excessively rewarded, having been paid 50 million won for his 2019 disclosure of the chat records by the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission. It was also said that reporter Kang later received the obscene messages and videos on Kakao Talk from the digital forensic company and spread them around. Reporter Kang also shares the victim's real name and their contact information with other media companies. The sister of one of the victims said that this incident made her sister quit her job and go to the hospital for treatment. Afterwards, the photo, videos, and victims' information were shared in a 200-member group chat of reporters, who simply laugh at the victims. After leaking some messages of this group, 12 reporters were forwarded to prosecution with an indictment opinion and 3 of them were convicted. Because of all this incident, many criticized the payment of a 50 million won reward to this company. Another aspect of the BBC documentary that requires further explanation is the sentences of the Molka chat criminals. In the documentary, they mention Jung Joon-Young's initial court sentence while referring to Choi Jung-hoon's appeal court sentence. We don't want to speculate on the reasons behind this choice, which is certainly not without purpose. So, let's look at the final sentences of the Molka chat criminals. As seen in their list of crimes, 4 of them were convicted of quasi-rape, which means raping a person who is under the influence of alcohol or drugs. This charge relates to 2 incidents of gang rape in Daegu and Hongchun that occurred in 2016 and have no connection to Burning Sun, which was established in 2018. For more details on this case, you can check out the Molka chat video on our channel.
승리는 이 안에서 마치 보스 같은 모습이었고 본인이 얘기를 한마디 하거나 하면은 한국뿐만 아니라 뭐 중국, 뭐 미국에 있는 뭐 사람들이 본인을 다 도와줄 수 있을 정도로.
Jung Joon-Young, Choi Jung-hoon, Yoon Suk, Lee Moon-ho, Kim In-chul, Lee Jun-hyun, Kim Sang-Kyo, Lee Song-hyun. Many names were involved in the 2019 scandals, but few people know them. This is because they were all hidden behind one big name, Seungri, a former member of Big Bang. According to reporter Kang, he was the boss behind all these cases. But what is the truth? It has been previously mentioned that Seungri was never part of the infamous Molka chat group. News agencies like Dispatch and even the lawyer who handed over the chats to the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission emphasized that Seungri was not a member of the Molka chat group. It is true that he was in a group with Jung Joon-Young and Choi Jung-hoon, but that group was a business-related group for the Pucha restaurant. Seungri was never summoned as a witness in any of the Molka criminals' trials. If the court had suspected that Seungri had any information about their crimes, such as Molka or sexual assault, he would have been summoned as a witness, just as Jung Joon-Young, Choi Jung-hoon, and Kim In-chul were summoned in Seungri's trials. Additionally, a list of all the convicted individuals from the Burning Sun Club and their sentences was previously provided, and Seungri was never one of them. However, Seungri was a shareholder of the Burning Sun Club. Yuri Holdings, which Seungri co-founded, invested in the Burning Sun Club and held a 20% stake, of which 8% belonged to Seungri. Seungri had no role in Burning Sun other than being a DJ and a promotional model for the club. This was mentioned by Lee Moon-ho in a letter, one of the club's CEOs who was also convicted of various crimes. Seungri has received the most damage from this situation. Unlike the many other businesses that Seungri manages and runs himself, he only helped as a consultant and assisted us in contacting foreign DJs for Burning Sun. He did not intervene in the actual management of the club. My heart is heavy in pain that Seungri is receiving so much criticism and rebuke. I am very sorry. If we set aside the misuse of Seungri's name by Kim Sang-Kyo, the whistleblower of the so-called Burning Sun scandal, it can be said that everything started on February 26, 2019. On this day, reporter Kang accused Seungri of mediating prostitution services, and the police began their investigation. Amid various articles and speculations about this accusation, several unverified chats were also published in the media. One of these chats shows Seungri conversing with someone named Seo Kim, referring to women as options 1, 2, and 3. These chats went viral and are still used as evidence to accuse Seungri. At that time, to prove the chats were false, Seungri took photos of the original chats on his phone and sent them to the media. According to these chats, there was no discussion about sexual services. They were merely selecting a woman to accompany Seo Kim to a business meeting, where he could introduce her as his partner. However, Seo Kim eventually attended the meeting alone. It is worth mentioning that the charge of mediating prostitution services cannot be interpreted as sexual assault. Prostitutes receive money for consensual sexual relations and are not considered victims. In the charges against Seungri for mediating prostitution services, two main incidents stand out. The first is the alleged mediation of prostitution at his 2017 birthday party on Palawan Island, attended by his Korean and foreign friends. The second is the Christmas party in 2015, where it is claimed that Seungri arranged prostitution services for a Japanese businessman. Contrary to the narrative in the BBC documentary, in 2019, the police conducted a thorough investigation into Seungri's Palawan birthday party, questioning some of the guests as witnesses. At the end of the investigation, it was concluded that while some guests did engage in sexual activities, no prostitution services were provided. However, at that time, the media used all the photos from the party featuring a woman and accused them of being prostitutes, an accusation for which Seungri's female friends never received an apology. As a result of this investigation, the charge of mediating prostitution services at the 2017 birthday party was never brought to Seungri's court cases and was dismissed. Regarding the 2015 Christmas party and the alleged prostitution services for a Japanese businessman, the businessman himself came forward to defend Seungri, explaining that he had come to Korea with his wife. Most of the attendees were with their partners, and he never received such services. He even stated that he was willing to testify in a Korean court, but the court did not accept him as a witness. During Seungri's various hearings, several women associated with prostitution services testified that Seungri never asked them to provide such services and did not pay them. They also emphasized that Yoo In-suk was the one who contacted them for such services and paid them. Seungri claimed he was unaware of Yoo In-suk's actions. Before Seungri's hearings began, Yoo In-suk had confessed to arranging prostitution services. Besides the women associated with prostitution services, Kim In-chul, Mr. Park, and Jung Joon-Young also testified in Seungri's various hearings that Yoo In-suk arranged these services and they never heard anything about prostitution services from Seungri. Another issue discussed during the hearings was the phrase "good giving girls," which appeared in one of Seungri's messages. Seungri explained this message during the trials. It's because of a typing mistake due to an autocomplete function. The word good-giving girls is not a word I usually use. I also even testified to the investigators that it was a typing mistake of hanging out girls. If I, who even have had female fans, had treated women with this attitude, I would have been detained earlier. As previously mentioned, Seungri was never part of the infamous Molka chat group. He was only in an 8-member business-related group with Jung Joon-Young and Choi Jung-hoon. One of the charges against Seungri is that he shared an obscene photo of 3 women's backs in this business group. None of these women ever filed a complaint against Seungri, and the court couldn't even identify them. Therefore, there was no formal complaint. Seungri responded to this charge by stating that he never took the photo himself. It was an advertisement for an adult bar in Singapore sent to him by an employee of that bar on WeChat, and he merely forwarded it to the group. Kim In-chul also testified in Seungri's third hearing that the photo was an advertisement for a bar abroad and that he had never seen Seungri taking illegal photos or videos. Jung Joon-Young also testified in Seungri's 11th hearing that he couldn't recall Seungri ever sharing photos or videos of women in their group. Other charges against Seungri include gambling, violation of Foreign Transaction Act, violation of Food Sanitation Act, embezzlement, and co-principal in instigating aggravated assault, none of which are related to sexual crimes and were not mentioned in the BBC documentary. For complete information on each of Seungri's charges, witnesses, and trial details, you can watch the Seungri's case video on the channel. We won't go into the rest of his charges here. However, it is worth noting that during Seungri's trials, various witnesses claimed that the police report differed from what they said during interrogations. Sometimes, things were written that they never mentioned. Additionally, all 32 witnesses who appeared testified in favor of Seungri. Even the alleged victims of the co-principal and instigating aggravated assault charge, which details you can see in the mentioned video, said they never knew the incident was related to Seungri and didn't want him to be punished. You might want to refer to the video shown in the BBC documentary where Seungri is seen pulling a woman by the hand in broad daylight in a public place. Seungri recently spoke about this video and said, "The woman in the video is my friend of 10 years. It happened when we went to Busan with friends. We played rock, paper, scissors, and the losers had to ride a peanut boat. My friend and I lost, but she didn't want to go, so I pulled her out. It was in broad daylight with people all around. How could that be something outrageous?" Regardless of all these discussions, the fact that Seungri never had a single victim or complainant for sexual harassment, or Molka, explains everything. In conclusion, it's important to note that the chats released from Jung Joon-Young's group chat date back to 2015, while the Burning Sun Club was established in 2018. As a result, framing the crimes associated with the Molka chat under the banner of the Burning Sun Club is not only misleading, but also suggests a deliberate misrepresentation rather than a mere oversight. The media plays a crucial role in perpetuating the confusion surrounding the distinct cases of the Burning Sun, the Molka chat, and Seungri. Their portrayal often blurs the lines between these incidents, leading to misunderstandings and misrepresentations that can obscure the true nature of each situation.